When you think of black culture in America, what image comes to mind? Are they images you choose or images that were chosen for you? Today, I want to talk about projections and how projections or false images imposed onto us have shaped black culture, how we've performed and masked ourselves to survive, and how unmasking is our path to true freedom. Now, since the 1800s, American popular culture has been used as a weapon to define who black people are and who we're supposed to be. Minstrel shows are one of the earliest examples. The first coon caricature, a white man in blackface with a painted grin and a razor, appearing in the 1840s. Now, this character, along with Sambo, Mammy, and Zip Coon, was designed to make black people seem lazy, dangerous, and buffoonish, or hypersexual. Fact: Thomas D. Rice, often called the father of minstrelsy, made a fortune performing as Jim Crow, a mocking, exaggerated black character that cemented racist stereotypes. Fact: black performers were eventually forced to wear blackface themselves to fit the white imagination of authentic blackness. Now, these images didn't just stay on the stage. They bled into textbooks, films, cartoons, and eventually the subconscious of America. Facing relentless projections, many of us put on masks. Some to prove the stereotypes wrong, some to survive by fitting in. Psychologists call this impression management, the effort to control how others perceive us. In black communities, it often takes the form of respectability politics, overcorrecting to look safe, educated, or acceptable. Or it takes the form of performative defiance, which is embracing the very caricatures meant to degrade us in an attempt to reclaim power. Gangsta rap emerged from raw expressions of oppression, but over time, corporate interests twisted it into a commercialized performance of hyperviolence and misogyny, an echo of minstrel distortions in a new form. Fact: by the 1990s, record labels heavily promoted violent gangsta personas, while positive, socially conscious hip-hop was systematically marginalized. Fact: in 2003, a 2003 report by the Kaiser Family Foundation found that black youth consume more media portraying violence and negative stereotypes than any other group. What happens when we're forced to wear masks every day? Psychology has an answer. It's cognitive dissonance. The mental stress of living at odds with your authentic self. Okay? Fact: study shows that internalized stereotypes correlated with high rates of depression, anxiety, and low self-esteem amongst black Americans. Fact: psychologist Elijah Anderson describes in The Code of the Street, observing how performative toughness becomes a survival strategy that also fuels cycles of trauma and violence. These projections are not just external. They fracture our families, our friends, and self-concepts. When you cannot be yourself, your soul pays the price. Here's the best part. Hold on. There's another path. The path of authenticity and self-study. Okay? In psychology research, N of 1 means studying an individual's unique experience in depth. It recognizes that you are your own case study. Imagine if each of us committed to an N of 1 inquiry. We ask ourselves questions like, who am I beneath the projections? What mask do I wear and why? What would it feel like to truly be free? When we remove the mask, we not only heal ourselves, we invite others to heal. Authenticity is contagious. It dissolves shame and unearths possibilities. Look, choosing what it means to be ourselves is this. Collectively, we get to decide. We get to decide who we are outside of the lens of white supremacy. We get to decide what stories we'll tell about our humanity. We get to decide what does Black joy, Black excellence, and Black love look like when we're not performing for acceptance or survival. This is how culture evolves, from projection to liberation. Look, I invite you to ask yourself, what mask have you worn to prove that you belong? What part of your culture are rooted? What parts of your culture are rooted in imposed images rather than self-determination? What would it look like to build a culture that heals? Look, listen to this. What would it look like to build a culture that heals and causes us to thrive in unity, not in reaction to oppression, but in alignment with our highest selves? When we decide to take off the mask individually and together, we are reclaiming our birthright to be seen, to be whole, to be free. Thank you.